Hey folks, it's us, podcasting wonderkins John Bishop and Lucas Southworth.
Although this is a podcast about cars, it is not age appropriate for the target demographic of these films, as we usually end up talking about the reproductive organs of Lightning McQueen.
Alright, now let's take a look under the hood. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Kachat. Its continuing mission? To explore one strange world. To seek out animated life, and one strange new civilization. To boldly, bravely even, ask the question no podcast has asked before. Hey, what's up with cars? I'm Lucas. I'm one of the hosts.
am John.
Yeah.
I am your doctor of the Starship Kachat.
Yeah, you're a doctor, not
Dang it, man!
engineer.
I'm not a.
Wait,
I'm not a. Shoot.
He is an engineer.
All right.
Okay,
See,
yeah, I'm Lucas. He's John.
Yeah, it's all up space from here. Oh boy. Okay, so what are we talking about today, Lucas?
We're talking, of course, about space and space travel within the Carsverse. John.
Oh boy. Are we talking sci-fi or are we talking just sci?
I don't know.
Or are we talking about the gentleman who loves horses, sci?
Like from Gangnam Style?
Yeah.
He likes horses?
That's what Gangnam Style is all about.
I never researched Gangnam Style. It just happened and I was like, okay.
Do you not remember any of the thousands of people we knew who did the dance?
I guess that is like a horse looking like a guy. Okay.
Yep.
In my brain, I knew that was like riding a horse.
But it wasn't
the
like
dance.
The thing that you think of.
Yeah, I don't think horse when I think of Gangnam Style. I think
Yeah.
I don't know what I think of when I think Gangnam Style. I guess.
Do you want to know what I think of when I think of Gangnam Style?
John, I've been wondering this for years. Please tell me.
I type so slowly. This isn't gonna work. But well, it's not gonna work. You're gonna have to edit in just the song, but only like the first few seconds of it.
Frankly, John, I'm not gonna do that.
I tried to play the song, but it doesn't work because of how this setup works, because I'm wearing headphones, so you can't hear your own voice, so you can't hear anything else I play. I could have used my phone. Oh, dang. This has been yet another one of John's bits that didn't work.
Oh!
Yeah!
And if you noticed, I didn't edit in any of the song, because, I don't know, I don't want to do that. Future Lucas, if you don't have to do that. I'm giving you permission right now. You're going to be tired, and it's going to be like 9 p.m. on a Sunday, and you're going to be like, should I edit this in? Don't do it.
Or, do what you want. Do what you want.
We're starting this episode with some real topical references.
Mm-hmm. That song is I don't know, 7 years old? 8?
Something like that.
Man, we're old.
Yeah, we certainly are.
So space.
The final frontier.
What do we want to talk about with space? It's the final frontier. Is it the front tire?
There we go. Now, I didn't make that connection. Should that be the title? Real quick, meta, should that be the title? The front tire? Or is that how it's spelled either way? It's how...
I think that's kind of how it's spelled somewhat, anyway. So, we could just really emphasize that.
Yeah, front dash tire is what you read for the title of this episode. We got there. Lots of notes to future Lucas in this one.
All right, so... Cars!
Yes, finally!
Planes.
Please!
Boats. We've discussed them all. We've even discussed motorcycles. We've discussed other sorts of things. Have we discussed Satellites and rocket ships.
I think very briefly each. I think we discussed satellites a little bit in the Cars 2 episode, if I remember right. And like,
Sounds right.
and
Because, well, maybe Cars 3 because cell phones?
yeah, I don't really remember which one of the cars we did. And I think there's a line in the first Planes movie that made us talk about rockets for a bit, but like neither super extensively.
I feel like it was, yeah, because they mentioned a specific rocket.
I want to say
Yeah.
it was either a Mercury or a Saturn. I remember we had the argument. You weren't certain that it was sentient, and I was pretty certain it was sentient. Yeah, we talked about that. So yeah, like a little is the answer.
But you know what isn't a little bit?
Rocket ships.
Rocket ships.
They're big.
Which brings me to a fun fact of the day.
Heck yeah.
Alright, so, speaking of not a little bit, good old Elon Musk spent not a little bit of money sending a Tesla Roadster into space.
Oh yeah.
This was on February 6th of last year? Yes, last year.
I don't know.
February 6th of last year. And that Roadster currently, it is over 2.8 million miles from Earth right now. Oh boy.
Did he send it into orbit, or did he just launch it into space to continue out?
It was into orbit so that it could loop around, gain speed, and then be launched out of orbit. And now it seems to be possibly approaching, but not really, Mars? So that's something.
Okay.
Oh boy, it's.
I mean,
oh no, it's passing Mars. It's probably already past Mars. Great.
cool.
Oh,
I guess. I mean, it's very directly related to the
It
spot.
is a
It's a
car
car
in
in space.
space.
You did a good job.
all right, and that comes from space.com/39777 track Elon Musk Tesla Starman website.html.
Cool.
All right, so cars in space. This car is in space. It's a roadster. That's a bunch of interesting thoughts. But it brings me to a question from Liz.
Whoa, you got it.
Do cars have to wear helmets in space?
Yes,
They do.
they have to breathe. We've answered that.
Cartoon rules. Usually, things don't need to wear helmets in space because, I don't know. Like, Jimmy Neutron, famously, there was a line where Sheen says, why don't we have to wear helmets in space? And then, I don't remember if Jimmy ever answered, but like, why don't they? They're not even in an enclosed spacecraft.
The joke was Carl started singing very loudly, so you couldn't hear Jimmy's explanation, if you were wondering.
Okay.
Uh,
Because, like, I feel like he would definitely answer, but I don't remember what the answer was.
but I'm very interested in the fact that they have to breathe, so I always pick up on it. There have been at least 2 instances I can think of. One where Finn McMissile in Cars 2, he's underwater and he gets like a scuba mask on, implying that he has to breathe. He needs it to breathe underwater. And then in Planes, Fire, and Rescue, they're in like a little cave and there's a fire, no rescue. And Dusty goes, "We're gonna suffocate." So
yeah, but also in Planes 1,
yes,
he almost drowned several times.
Further supporting my point.
Yep. But
cool.
But that's assuming that for some reason space works the same way in this universe.
It's also assuming that what they have to breathe is what we need to breathe.
Yep. What if, like regular cars and planes, they just get waterlogged?
Okay.
Like, you put water where it's not supposed to go in a car and it's gonna stop working. You put water where it's not supposed to go in a plane and it stops working.
Yeah, and I feel like the same could be true of an overabundance of smoke.
That could mess up like a car filter. That could blind them in some way.
Okay, they do specifically use the word suffocate, but maybe that's just an analogous term, you know?
And it could have something to do with exhaust, which means like there's too much backup. I don't know exactly what it could be, but I know that it could be something other than what we're assuming it is. So there's that. There's like a decent argument for maybe it's just the water is damaging them rather than a lack of oxygen.
I agree that that's possible. I think it's more likely that they just have to breathe air, but I agree that we don't know that for certain.
Yeah, but if they have to breathe air, we have to assume that the squishy bit is still a thing, even though we have been inside of Mr. McPlane, and he was just all engine-y, all gears and beautiful mechanics.
I don't think that scene precludes a squishy bit. We didn't see a full cross section of the plane, so we can't rule out that there's a squishy bit in there somewhere, but that's
True.
neither here
Squishy bit could be small.
nor there.
All right. But that brings me to a personal question.
From John.
Would a rocket need a helmet? Would a rocket need a helmet? Would a satellite need a helmet?
I want to take a step backwards. You
Okay.
in the planes episode weren't certain that rockets were sentient. Do you still believe that? Like outside of making this episode interesting by assuming the rockets are people, do you think the rockets are people?
I have to hope not, but I'm going to just, for the sake of this episode, assume they are.
Well, John,
Because if they are, Lucas, just imagine that hellish existence.
well, John, you get to imagine it. Over here in the we don't have a fan submitted name for the wiki quote of the day this time of the day week. I don't know what we call it.
Give me that fan wiki quote, wiki. What?
There we go. John, I'm going to admit something to you. I worked a little bit ahead. There is a bit, one of Mater's tall tales in the Cars tunes is Moon Mater, in which Mater does in fact go to the moon. As you know, we do assume all of Mater's tall tales are canon.
100% canon.
We go over to pixarcars.fandom.com/wiki/Roger. In the short, he's the rocket that Mater rides on to get to the moon. He first appears when he notices Mater towing a car and says, "Well, that guy's got a tow." That made Mater decide to be an astronaut. For some reason. So, I did go and watch this scene. Roger is a sentient rocket ship. B, does not need a helmet to be in space. And C, Mater does.
Beautiful.
So, I got to be the one to let you assume wrong things this time.
Okay.
So there's some
taste of my own medicine.
Some actual research. We haven't done it in a
Lucas,
while.
how dare you? You know we don't do research here.
Yeah. And as a real quick follow-up, that isn't probably going to be that quick, when I searched Rocket on pixarcars.fandom.com, but it also showed me results for Rocker, which gave me the page pixarcars.fandom.com/wiki/Elvis.
Oh.
So, Elvis is in fact, he's in the first Cars during the little montage to Sheryl Crow's Real Gone. All he does is it's a part in the song where Sheryl Crow goes and like he does like a little dance move to it. That's his entire part. But if we go down to the trivia section, there are two little bits that are very good. One is he is based on the real life rocker Elvis Presley, who died a long time ago when his doctor purposely, in parentheses, assigned him to drugs that were supposed to keep him up, but they killed him. Which...
give me that one more again.
Yeah, okay. It's based on the real-life rocker Elvis Presley, who died a long time ago when his doctor purposely assigned him to drugs that were supposed to keep him up, but they killed him.
TWOTOTOO?
Assigned him to drugs? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
T-O.
Assigned him to drugs.
Assigned him to drugs.
Okay. Didn't assign him to drugs and didn't assign him too many drugs. Just assigned him to drugs.
He assigned him to drugs.
All right.
Which, and I mean, to be at least a little fair to this, Elvis did in fact die in part to complications with his addiction to prescription medicine.
Yep.
But, like, there's no... I don't think there's any proof that his doctor purposely killed him by
I
it.
think what they might be saying isn't that the doctor intentionally killed him, but that the drugs were drugs he was supposed to have.
Okay, I can see that. But still,
Like,
weird
yeah,
wording. Weird.
it's the
Trivia.
idea of, oh, what happened? Overdose. But, like, accidental overdose of prescribed medication.
The last bit of trivia is he is not voiced by the real Elvis, in parentheses, who died. So that's... I was
Okay.
just... I read this page and I got so worried that I would never have an opportunity to share the pixarcars.fandom.com/wiki/Elvis wiki page with you all.
Well, you done it. You done did it. Which,
Yeah,
seeing as how we're talking about something sad, I'm just gonna go ahead and give us a very not fun fact of the day. The Apollo 13 was a rocket that, due to a failure, exploded, and that failure was due to man, there's no way to make this really simple, is there?
You say the Apollo 13 exploded?
Yep. Are you thinking of the Apollo 11?
I thought the Apollo 13 everyone survived.
Oh no, I gotta figure this out.
Yeah, the Apollo 13 was a near disaster. They almost died, but they figured it out.
So, not as sad then. But yeah, alright, so I don't have to be all worried about this. Okay, so, very not fun fact of the day. Apollo 13 was a rocket ship that exploded, but not really exploded. It was an aborted mission because of an explosion that was due to a pressure differential that caused an oxygen buildup. But basically, there was this just tiny little problem that caused a lot of pressure issues that caused just one thing to vacuum into an explosion, and it caused one specific part to explode, which meant they had to abandon immediately. That's just a very not fun fact of the day, is that if anything, any miscalculation happens with a rocket, anything could explode at the just drop of a hat. Because on this website, it's aeronspace.si.edu, it talks about how it was a fraction of a second that the pressure differential caused everything to go wrong in specifically one tank, and that one tank was enough to just basically wreck everything.
It is, in fact, rocket science to make...
It is rocket science.
To make space travel happen, which is why I'm excited about the fact that I'm not in charge of making space travel happen. You know? I've answered questions a long time ago.
Yes.
So, rockets are sentient. Rockets don't need helmets, which is crazy.
Cars do need helmets.
Cars do need helmets. So I think we should go into rockets being sentient and not needing visible air supplies at the very least.
All right, let's talk about it. They don't need visible air supplies. Do you think it's because they have space skills?
See, I don't know, man. Do they just not...
Do submarines, do boats?
Okay, yeah, submarines too.
Do submarines need gills?
Yeah. It's possible that they just don't need to breathe, but then why do cars? Or maybe they've just got massive air supplies somewhere within them, you know, within the mechanical bits that are hooked directly.
Lucas,
Uh-huh.
I did it. I've made the 5 billionth search.
What? Huh?
I'm a winner.
Oh.
I'm a winner, Lucas. It says congratulations.
What have they given you?
Oh no, it's a virus. Oh no. Everything's gone.
Oh, they have control of the podcast. There's a script popping up of what we have to say, or I don't know, they'll kill us. I haven't thought this joke through yet.
Totino's Pizza Rolls. The best pizza rolls. Oh no, they're gonna leak all of my information if I don't keep reading.
This
Try the new flavor, spicy Diablo Mega Mix. It's Totino's tastic. Please buy them.
so
They have my social security.
so let's do a quick mini episode of Behind the Bits. The world you created is one in which the company Totino's personally,
Or just a man who really, really likes Totino's.
that is in fact possible. I think more likely the assumption of the joke is that the company Totino's inserted a virus into your computer and threatened to murder you if you didn't plug them in our very, I'm not going to say unpopular, but not massively popular podcast. So that's
not
pretty good.
To murder, it's to financially ruin me.
Okay,
It's completely different.
you're absolutely right. I apologize.
Joke's on them, though. I don't have any money.
Oh,
In fact, if you were to steal my identity, you would have negative $60,000.
our higher education system is broken. Anyway,
So, that was Behind the Bit with Lucas and John. All right, Lucas, I'm gonna present you with a situation.
sure.
You're gonna have to imagine the situation. We're gonna go on a vision quest together. All right, Lucas. One day, you wake up. You see the sun for the very first time. You see this great expanse, all this free open space. You feel freedom. You feel life for the very first time. You have just been born, and then all of a sudden, in your ear, you hear someone speaking, saying strange things you don't quite understand about Houston and takeoff.
Sure.
After a few moments of this, there's just a countdown, and then when they reach 1 and then takeoff, all of a sudden, just fuel shooting everywhere, forcing you up. You can't move. You can't choose your own direction. You are being forced in only one direction, and that direction is up. After quite a bit of this, you're terrified. You're looking down. You're looking all around. You cannot escape this fate. Your body is just so warm. You're just rattling all over, and then your ass just falls off, and then another explosion happens from where your new ass is, and it's just burning, and you're rattling all over. You're going even further, and then next thing you know, everything's different. Everything has changed. You're surrounded by darkness. You look down, all you see is this beautiful blue and green marble of the land that you came from, and you hear words being said to you, but you can't focus on them because you are lost in an abyss. You can't choose anything about where you go. All you know is that for the few minutes you've been alive, you have been in pain, being hurtled towards a great oblivion.
Okay.
And now you're just floating there, as far as you can tell, forever.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I have some thoughts. My first immediate thought is future Lucas is probably very annoyed with you for making him insert several honks into this episode. Second is, why would they be born directly onto the launch pad?
I mean, I'm going to sound like a fool.
Okay.
Are rockets not like assembled on the launch pad?
I don't think so.
Like, they make parts of it and then put it all together there, right?
Yeah, but I think the parts would be sentient before being fully... I think one part would be sentient and then it would be added on to before that, you know?
I would think that, like, they become sentient as soon as they're, like, fully realized and turned on. And I imagine the first time you really turn the rocket on is on the launch pad.
Okay, either way, that wasn't a big concern I had with that.
Okay.
I will say the rocket I have seen in the Moon Mater thing was a space shuttle, so it was one that can, land. And that's not to say we haven't left a lot of full rocket parts and just, I don't know, probably full rockets in space. But I would almost assume that in the Carsverse, that would be seen as unacceptable, you know? They wouldn't do space travel until they could guarantee that these sentient beings could come back, you know? They wouldn't just
One
abandon
would
them in the
certainly hope.
void. So maybe there was a. I would assume there was a different track for rockets, as opposed to assuming that rockets are sacrificing their lives every time there is a mission, although that is a valid assumption that we'll get back into. I don't know. If it is true, that's pretty bad. It's not good. Space shuttles have it pretty good, as I've mentioned, because they can go and come back. And Roger, the space shuttle that I mentioned earlier, seemed like he really liked his job.
I mean, he is like a god amongst, well, the stars. I would say men, but he's in space.
Real quick, what did you send me?
A link to something called take5aday.com. It looks like a rocket launch in the Disney Pixar.
Oh yeah, that's
I'm
Roger.
guessing that's Roger. Yeah. Okay.
It is in fact Roger. That's him.
So you got to see him take off too.
Oh yeah, you fully get to see him take off, and like Mater is inside of him in this bit, so that's something.
So his job is just transportation again.
John, yeah,
Is that?
but like fun transportation.
I mean, race car and race plane. I would say that's fun transportation, but still, it's
I
just,
wouldn't call it transportation. The goal isn't to take a thing from one place to
it's
another.
to take yourself from one place
go-
to another.
Yeah, but that's you being the contrarian and trying to prove your point. You would not call NASCAR drivers in the transportation in our world in the transportation business.
That's very, very valid point.
Yeah. Like there would be people at like a party who you would get annoyed with who'd be like, actually when you think about it, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in the transportation business, and I wouldn't talk to that person at the party anymore.
By the way, come on, man. You can't just leave me at a party just because I say that Dale Earnhardt is in the transportation industry. It was a valid point, man.
It was a valid point that was prompted by nothing. No one had said anything for about 45 seconds, and you just brought that apropos of nothing.
What else was I going to do? It was a bat mitzvah. I was bored.
You've got me there. Yes, I would say Roger's job is transportation, but I don't know, space transportation. That's fun. Transportation. Yeah. No, that's nothing.
Transportation is pretty good. It's pretty good. All right. But then there's satellites, Lucas. There's satellites, and they're just in orbit forever.
Yeah, I don't have an argument for satellites. You're absolutely right. Satellites live a horrifying life. If they are sentient, which I would assume they are.
Mm-hmm. If they are sentient, that is just the worst. But in the movie, which is pretty good, Gravity, if we use that in any way as a reference, then the life of a satellite is to just float in space, seemingly indefinitely, and then to one day explode into a violent shrapnel monster that will consume everything in its path. So imagine that not only are you lost in oblivion, floating forever, incapable of choosing any direction to move, but also there's just gonna be a day where you are torn to shreds and become a weapon.
Yeah, I think we need to go back just a little bit to our satellites sentient. Because are satellites vehicles, would you say?
I mean, yes and no. They are a part of a vehicle at some point in their life.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And if we assume that they're not the vehicle and that they're just a payload, then that means the vehicle is the part that is just abandoned in space and will drop back down to Earth and burn up into a smithereen and be collected. Because that's how rockets do. They get launched, and then the rocket part that is just like a gigantic tank of fuel and explodey bits, once it's done, it is detached and drops off into a calculated area, which is pretty much always the ocean.
Yeah, I don't think I have a good way to make that one not terrifying and sad, which is, In the long run, probably for the best. That's like pay money on this show, but
Yeah, if it's not sad, it's more terrifying. If it's not terrifying, it's more sad.
yeah.
And by that I mean like it. Okay, so if it's not sad, that means it's not sentient, which means the sentient part is the rocket itself, which means your life is just, oh, I'm going to explode and Phoenix like burn to ash, except I'm not going to come back. I'm just going to land in the water and that will have been my life. Or it could be more
so
sad.
not very Phoenix-like when it comes down to it.
Phoenix
Not very
only
Phoenix-like
in
at
the
all, just-
end part of the cycle, not in the beginning or the new beginning.
Just like fire-like.
I mean, yeah, but like, if I am to say Phoenix, like, it's guaranteed that when you die, there will be fire.
Okay, whatever. Whatever. Sure.
I get,
Tell the other part.
I get
of
the
your
complaint.
statement.
I really do. But
Sure.
if you're not saying that, and you're saying that, oh yeah, they are sentient, and they're not the part that gets burned to a crisp and then dropped into water, then they have to go into space almost certainly, and even worse, imagine that they aren't just born there, like born in the moment of being launched. They have to be born and then think about the fact that they're going to be sent to this oblivion, and then they just have to live with that. And then that's their entire existence is, oh, I'm just going to be anxious about this terrible, terrible thing, and then it's going to happen, and now it's happened, and I'm so lonely and cold.
Yeah.
Just so people can have cell phones, but not race cars, because race cars don't have phones.
Race cars don't have. Come on, y'all. You know this. Yeah, and like there are some very important things that satellites do, obviously, but like still, that's. What if they're like, okay, I've been stuck on them not needing to breathe, even though we stopped talking about it a while ago. What if they're like tardigrades? You know? Do you know tardigrades?
Tardigrades? The space bears?
Yes.
I don't know why they're called space bears.
I thought they were called water bears.
Water bears? That might be it. I don't know why they're called bears, is my whole thing. Why bears? They don't look really like bears.
Like bears.
They look like gross, nasty little centipedes. Or caterpillars, that's what I meant. Caterpillars. But
Yes,
also,
but
I sure as heck hope not, because, oh.
But if you don't know, tardigrades have been shown to be able to survive in the void of space.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for how long they could, but like, and I think they go into like a deep hibernation-like state when they're in
They
it.
kind of like freeze
But I mean,
and then can be revived, essentially. Which, what if that's the case?
Yeah, if all the mechanics are working, you don't really need it to be awake. And like Roger the rocket from earlier, he just sort of goes into space and lets Mater out, and Mater rockets his own rest of the way to the moon, and he goes back to Earth. So like he was only in space for a very short amount of time, and then purposely went back to Earth.
How does Mater get back?
Mater has a big rocket strapped to him.
But no, okay.
Yeah,
I'll accept it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as always, Lightning is there for a second,
even though he doesn't remember it.
Gosh.
Right, so what you're presupposing is that the satellite goes into space and then just sleeps?
Yeah, which I guess is better-ish.
What if it's like a weather satellite? Do you think they only wake up so they can like, hey man, here's what the weather's looking like down in your area?
See,
what if all newscasters are satellites? Well, all weathercasters.
I think that I don't know. I don't think they'd need to be awake at all to send transmissions. I think we've been shown how mechanical these beasts are. I think they would just, the squishy bit freezes and goes to sleep, and the mechanical bit keeps working while they're, and that's just their existence, is they are alive for a while on Earth, get shot into space, and then never wake up again.
I'd like to think that they wake up for a little bit every day. They can talk to some people, and occasionally they'll get visits from the space station. Like, hey, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Yourself? Well, I'm also pretty good. Just here to do your routine maintenance. That seems like it might be a much less terrible existence if, like, once a day or maybe once a week, you just get a nice visit. You can make a phone call every now and then, and you can just sleep for the times where you don't have those things. That seems better than either never seeing or talking to anyone ever again or having any function, or just being comatose forever.
I mean, yeah, I'd like to think that. I will perhaps think that after this, so I'm not sad about Cars satellites, but it almost seems like a gag in a Cars movie that we haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen. That like there's a
Just one of those horrifying things that they pass by and don't talk about.
yes, like that two satellites would very quickly pass each other going opposite directions. That's not they would go the same direction because orbit. I don't know. In my joke, they go the opposite direction, and one goes, "Hey, Steve," and the other goes, "How you doing?" And that's it. And
It's like every day they get a few seconds to be like, "Hey, how are the kids?
yeah, like I can
Kids are great."
I can I can see that scene in my mind. It seems like such a thing that these movies would do, you know?
I mean, the thing is, satellites are very intentionally supposed to be very far from each other
Yeah.
at all times.
Yeah,
So they should theoretically be traveling at the same speed at different locations, never meeting, except for when like someone is targeted towards them so that they can in some way like meet up with that satellite to fix it, repair it, do some sort of analysis on it, or something along that line.
but yeah, I think
Yeah.
if there was ever a space cars, I bet that would be it. That would be in it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask
Now,
the other question from Liz.
all right, go ahead, give me that other question from Liz.
Okay, we didn't say earlier. We both of our significant others are named Elizabeth. That's the entire joke. They ask us questions. This one comes from one of them, and it is in very early space travel. Humans would send up like chimpanzees and dogs and stuff to test the survivability of being in space. What do we think
Mm-hmm.
if that is congruent with the Carsverse timeline? What do we think the Cars sent up?
Something John Deere,
Yeah,
because the only animals we know of are tractors and specifically John Deere.
tractors and like weird planes for if they're birds.
Oh yeah, those toys that freak me out. Ah.
Yeah,
All right. What would a monkey be? Because, like, cars are regular people, planes are regular people, boats are regular people. Would it just be a smaller, less complicated version of that? Is it like, oh, we sent up an ATV, or like
okay.
a kid's car, like one of those things that kids get when they're like 3 or 4 that they ride in.
I like ATV a lot for some reason.
I can get down with ATV.
Or what did we
Nice.
even say motorcycles were? Morlocks and Eloy? Did I remember that correctly?
We said they're vampires. We got to vampires.
Okay, so I'm going to get away
They're
from
sexy monsters.
yes. Oh yeah, for some reason you insisted they were sexy because they're thin. I think whatever.
Because they're
So
like really like specifically formed, mostly like it's all about the experience rather than anything like practical.
true. So probably not motorcycles. Yeah, I like ATVs. They sent up ATVs. Liz, they sent up ATVs.
They could send up their vampires. Cars 8 vampires in space.
I would, John. I would. I don't know that there's an amount I wouldn't pay to see Cars 8 vampires in space.
Well, what was it that were raising on our Kickstarter for Mater Eats a Carrot? Was it 5 million?
I think it was 50 million is
50
the
million.
joke
All right.
number I came up with.
For Cars 8 Vampires in Space, I'm thinking. All right, what was Batman vs Superman? It was like 200 or 400. No, 200. I'm gonna say 230 million is my guess. So we have to have a budget similar because like quite frankly, we need to have at least that high of a budget, because
Yeah,
we've all
and
seen Batman vs Superman, and I'm pretty sure Cars 8 Vampires in Space is going to need a little bit more of a budget if we want to even consider making this film. So let's say a good $300 million.
I want to go up to 350 just because the budget for Cars 3 I just looked up was 175 million, which
We're just
gosh,
going to double
uh
that?
yeah, just double it. Make
All
two
right.
Cars 3s,
Two Cars 3s. And we're
slap
going to
them together.
reuse a lot of the assets from Mater Eats a Carrot.
I was going to say,
again,
yeah.
There's not going to be that much because we're going to have the same background and a lot of the same reused animation and very
John,
simple set.
I don't know why you want to have Mater Eats a Carrot so much. Why you always insist.
It's all got to go into research and development. We need to understand the science of how he's going to eat the carrot.
Yes, but I think the science of how he eats the carrot would not lend itself to reused animations. He's alive. He's a being, John. He doesn't move in the exact same way each time he takes a bite, you know?
Lucas, I am an actor. Everything shall be done in the face. All of the budget, all of the animation, we're going to focus on that beautiful, beautiful bucktooth face.
Think we can get Larry the Cable Guy? Is he, I don't know, busy?
I think he's going to have a hard time saying no.
He probably will, yeah. Cool. Half the budget goes to Larry.
And once we show him the proposal...
He'll probably just do it pro bono.
He probably will, but he'll probably only take half of specifically the budget that we set aside for voice actors.
Okay.
The other half's going to go into Foley for the carrot, which again is part of research and development, which we're going to spend at least like 3 years on.
Nice. Okay. I've got one more big space question on my mind, if you feel like we've answered our other ones for now.
For now, absolutely.
So, on Earth, everything is vehicles and cars and whatnot. We know this. Do we think that's consistent?
Yes.
Do we think that's a thing? If there were to be life on other planets, do we think this is a universe-wide law? Or is this just a weird little planet we're on? What do you think?
Well, according to Mater's tall tales, alien life does exist, and they were flying saucers. So I have to assume that whatever planet you are on, whatever would be transportation for that planet, is what the creatures are. So if it's an alien life form that has specifically UFOs, by UFOs I mean the stereotypical UFO, not the like definitive unidentified flying object meaning, then of course it would be what you think of when you think UFO. But if it's specifically like a weird world like in Star Wars, the first one, but not the first one,
yeah,
you know, the Phantom Menace, and you're a world completely underwater, then it's just going to be a bunch of submarines.
Okay. I think
it just depends on the planet.
If that is true, and I'm not gonna, we shouldn't set it in stone because we never set anything in stone in this show, because why would we? But if that were true, I think that really puts a big hole in cars evolved from humans, you know?
I mean, what if...
Or cars revolted against humans, you know?
We create this this one little thing, this gray matter particle that's going to cause all of this thing. It's going to turn any piece of technology and person inside of it into one being. This whole thing, this matrix situation happens, and then as soon as that happens, it gray matter expands exponentially, and just within moments, like snap of the finger, like Thanos wise, it spreads not only all across the Earth, but all across the universe.
Okay.
It permeates throughout all of the air, and then as soon as it can, which is going to be nearly immediately, it develops to where it can exist in space, and because it's space, it's a vacuum. If they find any way to create like thrust to travel, they can immediately spread, and they can even create like miniature black holes to like pull themselves forward to get rid of friction to have that hyperspace travel. Bam! Next thing you know, these particles have infected everything in the universe, turning aliens into whatever transportation those aliens have. Whatever technology exists, it's that. And then any planet that doesn't have transportation, it's just whatever is programmed into it, the weird particle things, whatever that person or creature thinks of as technology or thinks of as transportation, it'll turn them into that. Or it could just be random of if there's a planet where it's just like a bunch of cavemen and there's no transportation, all of a sudden they're just like weird Cybermen or uh shoot exterminate. What are those?
Daleks.
Daleks. Yeah, turns them into a Dalek. That's how Daleks happen.
Okay.
Or it just turns them into like cars and surfboards.
I think that is a very valid suggestion. I think it doesn't even have to be that, like, obviously all of this is science fiction, but like I don't think it has to be that instantaneous, you know? I think it didn't have to happen on Earth, you know? What if it happened on some alien planet, and it's been slowly spreading throughout the universe, and some aliens brought it to us, and spread it through that. Like it doesn't have to be this instantaneous thing. It's just something that has happened to Earth by this point.
I like it.
And at least the flying saucer people that we see in whatever that Mater's Tall Tale bit there is. Maybe they're the ones who infected us.
Maybe.
They're clearly the ones who they're clearly interested in Earth. So who can say?
Or perhaps it's part of the, like, maybe the transmission is from when humans were traveling in the spacecraft in WALL-E. They picked up the disease that way.
It always comes back to WALL-E, John.
Yep. I was going to say maybe Toy Story, like the toys were the first creatures that it happened to. But I like WALL-E a little bit more. All right.
I can still fit into it somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, which brings me to a question that I have, and it's the you said this is all science fiction. That's what brings me to it. What is their science fiction like in this universe?
Okay.
Because I'm gonna like throw out some good sci-fi shows, and we're gonna just like rapid fire this, okay? What is Star Trek like?
Star Trek is exactly the same, except that the ship is sentient and everyone's cars. That's it. That's the only thing. And the aliens are alien.
Is everyone cars? Or is everyone forklifts?
Lots of forklifts on board. Not all forklifts.
Or is it that specifically everyone who has a job is a different kind of vehicle? Like anyone who's wearing command gold is a car. Anyone who's an engineer, they're wearing their forklifts.
I'm going to say no, just because Star Trek was a very progressive show, and I don't think Star Trek would have that sort of class stratification involved with it.
Good point. Except in this Cars universe, it does. The Cars universe really does.
Yes, but in our universe, there was a very...
Yeah, and that is important. It's just that Cars in this universe, racism is a thing, but not culturally. It's a thing physically, in a weird way.
Whatever.
The only engineers and doctors are all forklifts, but like no one seems to be
in any way,
like, aware of
Jacques
that.
Hughes.
Oh boy, do tell.
Freaking the Hudson Hornet, Doc Hudson, is a literal doctor. So, you're wrong.
All right, and Lucas, for a fun fact of the day, I'd like you to explain something to me so that our audience can know what something is.
Sure.
Can you explain to me what a deuteragonist is? Or deuteragonist?
Okay, well, I assume it has something to do with the book of Deuteronomy from the Bible. I don't know, John. Obviously, I don't know.
Okay. I saw the word and I was confused, didn't know what it was, but now I do. I have looked it up. It is the person second in importance to the protagonist in a drama, which is what Doc Hudson is considered to be in the first Cars movie. The second most important person.
I'll agree with that.
All right.
Like, Mater and Sally are close, but Doc is the second most important, like, story-wise, I would say.
But, like, there's also a weird implicit thing of, it's not the villain, though. Because oftentimes the villain is the second most important, if not the first most important, making the antagonist, or, well, the protagonist, the second most important.
Yeah.
All right. So, this isn't rapid fire very much, but I do like your statement
not.
it can't be that weird strata thing based on what you are, because that's very much not what Star Trek is about. But let's go for Stargate.
John, I know this is going to go poorly. I know very little about Stargate. There are these big
Stargate
gates.
is a show based on space travel. It has a lot to do with, specifically, the ancient Egyptians were actually aliens, and everything is based on, we can travel to other planets now because we found a circle that sends you to anywhere you dial. Like, you put in a phone number, essentially, and it brings you there via wormhole.
Okay, let's see. I assume those are...
Keep in mind, that would make that kind of transportation.
Yeah, no, I'm there.
But also, it would kind of make it a road.
Huh. So I assume these are the titular Stargates that you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say they're
Chapa-I.
I say they're probably sentient, which is crazy.
Yep, I can see it. But here's the thing, it's a weird thing where it's like a train, because you have to take the Stargate to go to the other planet. You're inside of the Stargate for a bit. So it's like this weird, it's a person, but also it's this beam of energy, and it's only a person when it's active. So it's like, you wake it up, you dial in the numbers, like, hey man, where you going? Oh, you're going there? Oh, cool, have a good time. And then he becomes this, like, giant space dragon that you drive through. Man, that could look amazing, though, because, like, if you've ever seen any amount of Stargate's, like, transitions, they look kind of cool. It's just like oh, look, you're traveling through this really pretty blue wormhole. And I imagine, like, just race cars driving and, like, making it this weird sonic 3D experience would be pretty cool.
I know nothing about this, but, like, make the machine they travel with sentient, even if it's the normal show, you know? And that makes it...
Shoot, Lucas.
Yeah.
Lucas, I didn't think about something that's very important to Stargate that also is very interesting in regards to our squishy bit theory.
Sure.
In Stargate, the main big bad for a long time are the Goa'uld, and they're like the gods of ancient Egypt, but also they're this strange parasitic snake that goes inside of humanoids and controls them from inside.
Sure.
So, like,
they are the squishy bit? Is that what you're getting to?
They are the squishy bit, but they're a parasitic squishy bit. So, like, a main premise of this show is that the squishy bit can have a squishy bit put inside of it. And that's just very upsetting.
Don't love that.
Because in Stargate, they sometimes show the person getting the thing put in or taken out of them. And that means we would have to see the squishy bit of a car with a squishy bit being put inside of it. So that's just... Oh.
Yeah. Maybe it could be
all
like... Right. I don't care. Go ahead.
Farscape.
John, again, this is going poorly.
Okay.
I have not seen Farscape.
I'm going to just... I'll explain something really weird about the show, and then I'll just go into it a little bit. In Farscape, they are traveling through space on a ship, and this ship is a strange ship because it is a half ship, half, like, biological creature thing, where it's a biomechanical creature that just exists that people can be inside of and pilot. So, like, it's kind of semi-sentient. What would that mean in this world where it would probably just be, like, sentient, but then it would also be sentient for something that is sentient? So would it be, like, super sentient, or would it be a sentient being with another semi-sentient being attached to or inside of it?
I think it would be more interesting if it went in the opposite direction. If it was the exact same amount of sentient it is in our show, so it is in their show less sentient. Yeah.
Ah.
So, like, they're like, what's up with this weird thing that can't talk?
Oh, Lucas, that is beautiful.
And going off that, I think it'd be the same thing for the TARDIS in Doctor Who. The TARDIS being
Oh.
like vaguely sentient and can turn into a lady in one episode. I think it would have a similar relationship. It would not be more sentient because it's in this universe. I think it'd be more interesting if it's the exact same amount, and it's like
I
plot point of like, why can't they communicate with us in the same way we communicate with each other?
I really like it. That's pretty great. Oh, that's good. Because like one of the weird things that happens in Farscape is the ship gets pregnant and gives birth, and then that baby is taken and then like turned into a war machine.
Oh no.
And if it's like that, then this semi-sentient ship in Carscape is
Got it.
gonna have that happen, and it's just gonna be like, oh, not only are they turning it into a weapon, they're also making it even less of what it was. They're even more dehumanizing it, which is just another layer of cruelty on top of it.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
I like that.
Nice.
All right. The more I'm trying to suggest these sci-fi shows, the less likely you are to have seen any of them. Have you seen Sliders?
No, I also haven't seen Battlestar Galactica or Firefly, so I'm gonna nip both of those in the bud before you get there.
So we can't talk about space pirates. All right. Treasure Planet.
I have seen that. I want to go back and say
Ah.
I haven't seen a single episode of Star Trek either. I just know enough about it to talk about it a little bit.
You haven't seen any amount of Star Trek?
I've seen the J.J. Abrams movies. Is all I've seen of Star Trek, which is someone who just listened to that probably got very angry, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, man, Star Trek fans are the great kind of fans that get really passionate. And by great, sometimes I do mean terrible, because I had a conversation with someone who was like, yeah, the original was great for its time, and then they just became absolutely livid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you even say? Treasure Planet.
Treasure Planet.
Very underappreciated.
Oh, I love Treasure Planet. Man.
Oh yeah, it's
they
fantastic
they blend 2D and 3D animation in a way that, okay, so normally when shows do that, I can't stand it. But in this film, it's so beautiful and it works so well. Oh, man, it's so good.
Yes, it'd be very good is my answer.
Voltron.
The lions would be, I don't know, more sentient. I haven't seen Voltron, John.
You know, honestly, I think you're less sentient or same amount of sentience is pretty good, because in Voltron the lions are this strange semi-sentient technology that's half technology, half magic, and I really like your same amount of sentience. I really like that. It's so good for any of the sci-fi that we do.
Then we did it.
All right.
Yes.
Can I think?
We're done with this segment.
Of any sci-fi that isn't anything to do with transportation. It's got to specifically involve space,
but not space travel. That's
like
iffy at
it
best.
Can't be about space travel is what I'm trying to get at. Like Stargate, it's about traveling through space. I guess, what about Star Wars? Because that's more about space wizards. There are plenty of pretty interesting and enthralling space vehicles and fights and all that jazz, but like it's not about that. It's about space wizards and beams of light that are used to fight each other.
I say Star Wars, Luke is a sentient X-Wing.
Okay. He is a sentient X-Wing. Oh, Lucas, the Death Star.
No, yeah, I'm right there. That was my next place I'm going. Death Star's definitely sentient and definitely massive.
And we cheer for the Death Star being blown up, and it's a person in this world. We're just cheering for guts to just shoot everywhere.
To be fair, we are cheering for the Death Star explosion in the original, and there are like confirmed thousands of people aboard it.
Yeah, but they're all clearly like space Nazis who are caught up in an explosion rather than something inside of them starts exploding. Yeah, okay. Something about being consumed by an explosion versus being the explosion. I don't know why, but being the explosion seems so much more just terrible to me.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit in the planes episode
Mhm.
with the World War II scene. Yeah, you're right. That it would be the same thing, but like, I don't know. The Death Star would be a giant space Nazi, like a giant space Nazi.
Super
So
giant space
it'd
Nazi.
be a little bit better.
Yeah, because seeing a Nazi explode, something about that, like, no matter how gruesome it is, you're just like, good, good. Space Nazi should die.
And that is a statement we stand by here at the Kachat.
You heard it here first, folks. A controversial opinion from the Kachat. Space Nazis, they should die.
And if I want to make it actually a little controversial, that includes Kylo Ren.
Ooh.
I don't want him to have a redemption arc.
I don't.
I don't want him to. He's a space Nazi.
Here's the thing, though. I don't think they're giving him one.
Yep. Stick to your guns, Disney. Have Rey cut off his head or something. I don't care. I don't want him to redeem himself. He killed his dad. I want to end the podcast.
Wow. Okay. I'm not hurt at all. Fine. Yeah, we are going pretty long, though, so.
Yeah. Another thing future Lucas is telling me in my ear is, Lucas, please. It is now like 11 p.m. on a Sunday. I want to go to sleep, and you all are going real long. Anyway, but
this has been the
yeah.
Kachat. Please remember to rate, like, subscribe, email us any questions, any suggestions, anything you want to hear from us, and follow us on Twitter. Anything else, Lucas?
Just a quick thank you for listening. We always appreciate you tuning in each week. If you want to submit a name for the wiki quote of the day, do that on one of those things John said earlier. Our email is thekachat@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @thekachat. Follow us, email us. Yeah, I think that's it. So I've been Lucas Southworth.
And I've been John Bishop. So until next time, remember to float like a Cadillac
and sting like a beamer.